A bombshell report from the Washington Post on Friday says that President Obama knew about Russian meddling in the presidential election as early as last August, yet he did nothing to stop it. The Post even quoted a former Obama official who said the administration, quote, choked. President Trump responded on Twitter, writing that President Obama, quote, didn't choke, he colluded or obstructed, and it did the Dems and crooked Hillary no good. Even Democrats are saying Mr. Obama didn't respond aggressively enough to Russia's cyber campaign.
The American people needed to know, and I didn't think it was enough to tell them after the election. But rather, given the seriousness of this, I think the administration needed to call out Russia earlier, needed to act to deter and punish Russia earlier, and I think that was a very serious mistake.
I think they did think Hillary would win, and I think they didn't want to look like they were putting a thumb on the scale, and that's why they didn't do more. I wish they had, obviously.
Here's a flashback to what President Obama said back in October when he was lecturing then-candidate Trump to stop complaining about the possibility of the election being rigged and choosing not to go public about the Russian meddling.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections, in part because they're so decentralized and the numbers of votes involved. There's no evidence that that has happened in the past or that there are instances in which that will happen this time. And so I'd advise Mr. Trump to stop whining and go try to make his case to get votes.
So, Juan, I'll start with you. President Obama, pretty clear there's no rigging, no intentional rigging, no one's trying to do anything, nothing to see here. But apparently the Washington Post says he knew there was attempts to interfere in the election all along. What's he saying?
No, he did know. And let's just be clear about what he said there. I mean, I think it's very clear that he's saying there had been no rigging in the past, and he didn't see evidence that there would be rigging this time. And in fact, we've only recently learned about Russian attempts to
define rigging.
Rigging meaning that you actually control the machines and how the count is done.
Okay.
And there was no evidence that that was done in the past or not. And I think that's what he's saying.
Okay, so we're going to play word games.
No, we're not. We're just being very clear.
Okay.
And the second thing to say here is, it's not just Al Franken and Adam Schiff and Dianne Feinstein. There are lots of Democrats going way back who think he should have gone on TV. He should have made a presidential statement to talk about the effects. According to the Washington Post, the intelligence agencies told him in August Vladimir Putin was not only trying to interfere in the election, but interfere to cause chaos, distrust in the election, and to help Donald Trump. Why the president didn't go on TV and make this clear to the American people, I don't know. Jen Psaki, his former communications director, said something was very interesting to me. She said, we didn't take into account the propaganda value. In other words, when you put out all these phony stories, when you say things that aren't true, and then all of a sudden everybody's thinking, oh, is this true? And then the fake stories go all the way. Well, people are like, yeah, that impacted the election.
What exactly were the fake stories? I think the Russians hacked the DNC and exposed the fact that the DNC was rigging the election against Bernie. Wasn't that what was being exposed? Nothing fake about that.
This is an example of it right here, Jesse.
Why?
Because you guys will take something that was leaked by the Russians, and it could be phony.
How dare you?
Yeah, you guys. And take that and then make it into a big deal. And apparently President Obama thought
if Wasserman Schultz didn't rig the election against Bernie, why'd she resign? Kimberly, why don't you go?
Listen, there's a couple of things need to be addressed here. So that clip then was from President Obama in October, and by your own statement admission there, he was aware of at least the sincere best efforts, hopes, and intentions of the Russians to interfere in a major U.S. election for President of the United States. But nevertheless, when he took that podium, and many other times when he took the podium subsequent to that, he never mentioned anything about it. If it was of such importance and significance that we now hear, in fact, that it was, he should have said and done something about it. And I think that's where the Democrats are having a hard time with him as well. The argument is, well, listen, this looked like this was a done deal for Hillary Clinton. So why, throw a flag on the play, make a big problem, and then perhaps upset the basket that was tilting in Hillary Clinton's favor? That's what one argument is.
Well, I think the counter argument from, Obama's perspective, and I disagree with it, was Trump is saying the election's going to be rigged, Kimberly, and we don't want to play into that. And it could be because he thought.
But he was
Hillary
saying it for the
gonna
other
win.
side.
Dana, do you buy that argument from, I guess, President Obama that, we didn't want to say anything publicly because that could feed into the Trump rigging narrative and it would look like we were putting a thumb on the scales?
Well, I guess so. I asked a Democrat friend today if he thought that President Obama or someone speaking on his behalf needs to come forward in the next day or so to try to clarify all of this.
What'd they say?
And they said, yes, he should, but he won't. That they're in lockdown mode, partly because they're just not saying anything. There's investigations. There's also lots of classified things. Also, President Obama has a book coming out in the fall of November 18th.
Oh, you have to read it in my book?
Well, I hope not. I mean, but you can imagine that that's going to be a chapter that everyone's going to want to say. But I don't think they can actually wait that long. But I do think, put yourself in their shoes. So the president is saying, the current president was saying the election is rigged against me and in favor of Hillary Clinton. If President Obama had come out and said, actually, no, Donald Trump, President Putin is trying to put you in. What would Trump supporters have done then? We would have gone ballistic.
Right.
Okay,
You're
so
tying Trump to Putin.
I think that one of the
Dana, you just
things
said we.
is I did say we. You can
Roll
take
the
that way you
tape.
want. So I think that perhaps he didn't say anything after because President Obama was trying to be presidential and wanted people to accept the election result. He says that in the first press conference when the Democrats are all mad. He's like, look, fair and square. The guy won. Let's get behind him. Let's support the president.
Yes.
So I think that is probably going through his mind, but I don't want to speak on his behalf, and somebody probably should get out and speak for him.
They should. And
Doing a good
behind the
job.
scenes, allegedly, he made a phone call to Pooty Poot or saw him in China and said, hey, cut it out.
And the secret
Did
message.
Putin listen?
I haven't seen this.
What did
much,
he tell you?
Not much. I haven't seen this much Russian meddling since the '80 Olympics. Anyway, here's the reason why Obama didn't say anything, okay? He didn't want to look like a fool for dismissing the Russians when he mocked Romney over it. This is the same thing he did with ISIS and the JV thing. Obama's really good on the small things. He appears presidential, sophisticated, eloquent, but he's wrong on the big things. He doesn't understand our adversaries. He didn't understand Russia at the time, and he was embarrassed by it, and he should be embarrassed about what he did to Mitt Romney.
That's 0 for 2.
Yeah, so he's 0
for 2.
And then with ISIS, he did the same thing. He may be a president.
0 for 3.
Yeah, he may be a president that will be remembered for letting the varmints overtake the yard.
And the Democrats are the ones that are mostly mad at him now.
Yes, and
That's why I'm saying that I think that he should try.
He could have changed the election.
If he's not able to, he can't. He's in Bali.
Comey, too.
Right now, so maybe he can't comment.
But he should have.
tough
I mean,
life.
I
He's
just
having
think
a Bali.
Somebody wrote today that his opponents act and he anguishes, and I thought, from my Democratic point of view, I agree. Why was he anguishing? Why didn't he get out there and say these guys are putting their fingers on the scale to help
And
Trump?
what would have
Because
happened?
By the way,
imagine, though, Juan.
yeah, I know. You were right, Dana.
can I just
agree.
take-
But let me just say this finally, Greg.
Yes.
That guess what?
I know,
Guess who
because-
still
yeah,
won't
I know.
acknowledge?
Yeah.
Guess who still won't acknowledge that Russia interfered in the campaign
All
to
right.
help
Yeah, but let me
Trump?
tell you
Wait, that just set me up.
Trump.
You
Not
just set me
true.
up. Can I
Yes,
just make
it is, buddy.
Everybody would have screamed like the Democrats did about
I
Comey
have
if
one
he
thing.
made that statement because they all thought Hillary was
So
going to
why
win,
won't Trump
including
say
him
it
to
now?
exhibit.
Why won't he
basically
say it?
No, wait. Can I respond to this? He did.
He did,
He
man.
did in a tweet this weekend that you missed, Juan.
No.
Because the
What'd he
media.
say?
The media spin this weekend was very clear. It led on every network. Trump admits Russian meddling. That was their lead, rather than the Obama knew about meddling and hid it. So it was there.
No, he said Obama choked, right? He said it's less Obama choked than he didn't want to put his finger on scale, whatever.
Obama knew about why didn't he do anything about it?
So
He
he-
acknowledged finally that there was some meddling. But
That's what he just said.
But he never heard
That's what he just said.
No, what I'm
President
saying.
Trump also said that in January when he was asked about it. So
What
why don't you
I'm
just take the
saying is,
January clip?
I want Trump to come out and say, yeah, guess what? Russia helped me get elected.
A
All right,
better
Trump,
question
if
would be,
you're,
what are you doing now?
watching
Why would
the
he
show,
make
Juan
that
wants you to
statement
say
and
that.
try to delegitimize his own presidency
Oh,
without any
the
specifics?
facts?
No.
The facts?
No. Admitting that there was meddling or interference is not saying that there was an outcome specific achieved. Why would he do that
No,
and
they
try to undermine
wanted-
his own presidency?
That's what 17 intelligence
We
agencies
want a lot of
said.
things.
They wanted Trump to win, basically.
All right. Thank you, Juan. Anyway, coming up, big news about the GOP plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. That's straight ahead.